Welcome, and thanks for joining us for this important masterclass, How to Strengthen and Balance Your Immunity for Optimal Health. We've got a great presentation for you here today. My name's Rick Diamond. I'm the founder at Wealthy and at the CBD Training Academy, and we work with some amazing educators that are focused on teaching health and wealth. And I really believe, and in fact, this came from my father, and this is where really Wealthy came from, is that when you have your health, you have your wealth. My dad always taught me that if you have your health, you've made your first million, you're a millionaire. Because when you don't have your health, we all know this because we've all had different issues over many different years where you find like, oh, you're fighting for your health. Well, it's hard to focus on anything when you're not healthy. So in any event, that's where that came from. And a little background on myself, I've been in the health and wellness industry for the last 15 years. I've been the founder and CEO of 3 different health tech startups. And I work with a lot of different startups in the space now through our Founders Accelerator program. Our mission at Wealthy and at the Academy is to train 10,000 professionals to go out and help 100 million people around the world to improve their health and wellness through our various educational programs. And we are well on our way. We've had 5,000 plus people come through our platform, and we've trained now people in over 45 different countries. And here's one of my favorite quotes from Brian Tracy: "Make your life a masterpiece. Imagine no limitations on what you can be, have, or do." So keep that in mind. And here are just some of the different experts and speakers and instructors at Wealthy. And this is our instructor here today, Carol Schuyler, who I'll be introducing in just a moment. But we have people from all throughout the industry. Here's Dr. Zach Philosoph. He's a veterinarian. Heidi Ernest, she's an attorney in the space. Dr. Jeanette Jackson, she's done 3 courses with us, and she's a dermatologist. Janice Blair, financial management. Danielle Borzer, PA, and strength and fitness coach, as well as a nutritionist. So, we've got people from all throughout the industry and many, many more. This is just a small subset of the experts that we have. This is really an opportunity of a lifetime. That's why we're all here today. The wellness industry is a $4.2 trillion global industry. And so we're really excited to have Carol Schuyler here with us. And I'd like to just tell you a little bit about Carol. She's been working with us for the past 3 years or so. She's an instructor at Wealthy and at the CBD Training Academy. She has created many, many courses throughout her career. And I would like to just say that she is a phenomenal speaker, and she created our Certified CBD Advisor program, which is a new program at the CBD Training Academy that came through with 4 different great modules, and we've had really fantastic reviews on that course. And she's done other courses as well at the Academy. And I'm just going to read. She is an RN. She's a functional medicine practitioner. She has an extraordinary amount of experience. She will fill in some of her background in just a moment, but I'm going to just read off some of the different courses that she's taught, because throughout her career, she's been teaching. In addition to practicing, she's also an instructor. So here's one: A Habit of Health, Key Essentials for Daily Living, Living Healthy in a Toxic World, Healing Juices, Herbs and Spices, Herbs for Pets, The Bitter Truth About Sugar, Diabesity, Heartstrong, Yoga Anatomy, Balancing the Respiratory System Naturally, Natural Solutions for Digestive Health. You'll hear some of that here today. Cleansing and Detoxing. Keep an eye out for our calendar in the future. You'll see some courses associated with that with Carol. The Power of Essential Oils, Flower Power, Understanding Flower Essences, Pain and Inflammaging. That sounds like a really awesome course. Boost Your Brain, Natural Remedies for Everyday Problems, Balancing pH for Optimal Health. You'll hear a little bit about that today, or perhaps in the virtual summit. And Transforming Your Health Through Weight Loss, Surviving the Holiday Eating Frenzy. That's a great course that you'll hear more about as well. And so, without any further ado, I'd like to invite Carol to join us and begin the presentation.
Thank you very much, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad everyone is joining us today. This is a new series that we're doing on Digest Your Health. We're really excited about it. It is in this particular piece, it is the immune boosting system. And I developed this because I thought it was really important that people understand how the digestive system works and the troubles that you can have with it commonly, and how to balance and strengthen your immune system really through the digestive system in many ways. That is for optimum health. And then the end is really how to boost your immune system on number 3, so that you understand that you can take a hold of your health and really make some dramatic changes very simply. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how truly get the best out of your own health and boost your own immune system so that anything that's coming at you, you're able to handle. So the first piece we'll do is on digestive health and dilemmas. I must tell you that this program is not FDA approved. It is not to diagnose or prescribe or take place of your medical practitioner. So if you are having issues, see your practitioner. This is for education only. But one of the things we look at in digestion, and you've probably heard this term, are you what you eat? Well, we are really not only what we eat, but what we digest, what we assimilate, and what we eliminate. And I think that's important to know, because each of those pieces there are so important. I'll explain more. One thing that's so important, and I personally took a deep dive into with my nursing career, looking at why people had inflammation in their body. And I've been in this business about 40 years, close to 40 years. And when I got into it, I was fortunate enough to go to Flagstaff, Arizona, through nursing school there, and I had a career wonderful in intensive care medicine, emergency medicine, cardiac care, open heart surgery. I became a supervisor at one point in several hospitals. I've done administrative work, and I've even done home health care. So I kind of went through the whole gamut in the earlier years. But one of the things I did was get my massage license early on, 1982. And I kept, over time, seeing people with the same inflammatory responses every week in their body. If they came to see me every week or once a month, they had pains in their joints, and they had headaches, and they had muscle aches, and they had all kinds of inflammatory issues. And in those days, I just continued to work on people, would see them every week, but it really was not getting to the root of the problem. And so as time has progressed and all the studying that I've done, and in fact, I learned with some folks in London about 20 years ago, because I could not find the information at that time in the United States, was really focusing on how intestinal microflora, or the gut of the body, the digestive system, really integrates with your health and how vitally important that is. And so you're probably hearing a lot of information out there now. People are talking about the gut and how it affects the brain and how the gut affects the skin. And so one of the things that we're talking about here is really trying to help you to maintain or redevelop or reboot or redesign your intestinal health so that you are a healthy person. 80% of your immune system, they say, is in your gut, and it has a direct relationship through your whole body. And particularly the other part of that is your brain. One of the things that happens when an embryo is developing is the one cell that makes the digestive system splits into two, and one of the cells goes to the brain to make the brain, the other one goes to the digestive system. So they are so integrative, it's not even funny. So this is one of our mantras in my office, is maintaining a healthy intestinal microflora. So how do we do that? Well, we know that there's an innate immunity, which means what you are born with, we have an innate immunity and an adaptive immunity, but the innate immunity is what you come into the world with. So it's really vital that over as we develop through the years, we need to know that we have to maintain a healthy intestinal microflora, if you will. We have to make sure that we reduce as much insult, gastrointestinal irritation, and anything that can bother the gut, such as a lot of processed foods and alcohol and even medications. Do this, even stress. It's important to know that this immunity is vital on what you not only are putting in your body, but how you are reacting to the world. We have to promote intestinal membrane integrity, which means that and I'll explain that in this talk today, that you keep intestines running, flowing well, and that you are not having any inflammatory problems. Now, one of the things that can happen inside of the body is that it can mask this and be very quiet. You may not have any type of symptoms at all. You may not have any diarrhea, constipation, GERD type symptoms like um, burping and gas and so forth, and distension after you eat something. And it can skip that. Maybe that only happens for a short period of time, and then it can start creating more problems in the body that might show up on your skin or might show up with pain in your joints. So it's important that we promote our immune responses. And so that's what we're going to be discussing. So one of the most common things, if we're speaking about some of the symptoms that people tend to have, at least 6 million Americans use antacids because of heartburn or a hiatal hernia, GERD. And so many times this is a commonality. And heartburn has nothing to do with the heart. H. pylori is a bacteria that is very, very common. There was a Australian physician back in the early 80s that kept trying to tell the establishment of medicine that there was a bacteria that was causing ulcers. They didn't know it, and nobody had any idea, and they told him he was wrong and all of that. Well, he went on to actually infect himself with the H. pylori bacteria, which is about 70% of the population has come in contact with it at some point. Many people carry this around. And it infected him, and then he showed the world basically that he got ulcers from it, he got sick from it, he got himself over it. He actually got a Nobel Peace Prize for that. And so that's a really important piece of this, to understand that some of the things that get into our bodies through our digestive tract can actually wreak havoc and start setting shop up. Our bacteria, this particular one is a bacteria that actually can come in on some food that may not be washed very well, or picked up from being with a partner. Kissing will do this, eating after someone, drinking after someone. And so these things are out there. Normally we have the ability to get rid of them, but some of them decide to live with us. And you always hear the commonality of people going to Mexico, for instance, and then coming back and they're sick. Well, we aren't used to their bacteria and they're not used to our bacteria. And that's really why that can happen. Many people that come from overseas get sick when they're in the United States because they have a different microbiome bacteria than what there is here in this country, for instance. But these are some of the things that will start to happen. Even just the slightest amount of digestive problems means that there is something happening within you. And if it's something that happens on a regular basis, a lot of people will use over-the-counter medications like Tums and that kind of thing for digestive problems, and they live on those things, which really aren't very healthy to do. They do take care of the problem. But it's important to understand that these are what I call red flags, or just something telling the body that something is wrong. So a hiatal hernia, for instance, develops from the gas. Usually when someone lays down at night, the stomach acid starts to work, like it should, and it will migrate, because someone is laying down, tends to migrate up into the esophagus, out of the stomach, upper stomach here. Sometimes, many times, it's a gas. It's not even actually the liquid itself. Stomach acid is very strong. That's why we have this wonderful lining that you see here to prevent us from burning the inside of our gut. But once that H. pylori gets into this area, and usually it likes to reside right here where all the good stuff is before it goes into the small intestine. At the pyloric sphincter, that's where it partially gets its name. But it will erode this, and now that acid is going directly into the muscle and even the submucosa of the stomach, and it can be very, very painful. So that's where, and then the other part of that too is that if this gas goes up into the esophagus, this has no protection whatsoever. It will migrate up and kind of blow this area out and cause a ballooning, if you will, and that's really where the hiatal hernia comes in. So this is the basis of gastroesophageal reflux disease, also known as GERD, and so it is something to pay attention to if this is happening for you. So how do we know if we have an unhealthy gut? Well, I spoke about inflammation briefly, but the inflammation is the key factor. Inflammation tells us and tells the body that there is something going on, whether you have a skin eruption come up that's inflamed, or your joints hurt, or you have headaches, or you have pain in your low back. All of that is a reason there's something happening in your body if it's not had an acute injury like a fall or you twist your back or pick something up that's heavy. But if none of those things have happened, then you need to pay attention to the possibility that something else is happening. So they know that the gut damage in the body, a lot of it can come from leaky gut. And I'll show you a picture in just a minute about that. But studies show inflammation is a precursor to many diseases. And they know this is what is causing the autoimmunity that people are having problems with, such as fibromyalgia, diabetes, and those things. Asthma is an autoimmune. Most of your autoimmunes generally are what's the word I'm looking for? It makes the gut is telling you that there is something that's imbalanced. And it could even be your normal bacteria. It doesn't even have to be something foreign that has come in. So, but many people have these digestive issues, as I spoke of bloating, diarrhea, constipation, and indigestion. And so if there are foods that you used to eat that you can't eat anymore, there's a red flag. If you have sensitivity to certain smells and you're hypersensitive, there's a red flag. If you have allergy symptoms and every year you get the same type of situation and it may or may not be trees outside, but many times it is the body trying to get rid of any kind of toxin that's going on. There's only 4 ways the body gets rid of toxins, and that's through the bowel, of course, through the kidneys, through the lungs and respiratory system, and through the skin. So those are 4 areas to pay attention to, because the digestion will tell you, or digestive health will tell you whether or not there's a problem. So many people have sugar cravings and processed food cravings, and believe me, it's a real common problem. And so the bacteria in the gut, they can turn rogue. They can actually be good guys, and we are made mostly about 90% bacteria. This can increase the sugar cravings because these bacteria get used to it, and now that's all they want. They will force you and force your brain to want these things, override you, actually, or you might go to the fridge and look at something, and then an hour or 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 15 minutes later, you're back again, and you keep telling yourself, I'm not going to eat it, I'm not going to eat it, I'm not going to eat it. But something in you finally makes you eat it or drink it. And so that's where that comes in. The problem with this is that you can start losing nutrition if there is an insult that's going on in there, and the body is so busy trying to take care of the problem that it's not going to absorb the nutrients like it should. You can't lose weight like you should. And so insulin resistance is one thing that we'll speak of shortly that is actually part of this whole issue as well. So weight challenges, they're a problem. When you have this gut imbalance, the body, like I said, is working on all these other things. So the last thing it's planning to do is help you lose weight. And so the first thing it will want to do is it only has so much time when things are in the stomach and in the small and large intestine to actually put things where they need to be. So it will store fat sometimes quickly instead of burning it off. Other thing that will happen is people get very tired and they have problems sleeping at night. These are all, once again, the unhealthy gut is telling you that there are problems. And so we do create about 80% of serotonin, which is what make us feel good hormone, produced in the gut. A lot of times it's released at night, affects our mood and our sleep, and the leaky gut or gut damage can impair this. And so you don't sleep well. So if you're not sleeping through the night, you're not really understanding why, you're not drinking coffee late, you're not eating or drinking alcohol 2 or 3 hours before you go to bed, you need to know that there could be something happening there. A lot of times, even acne and eczema and rosacea, once again, the body is trying to get rid of these toxins. And so this is how it is going to do it. So I spoke about leaky gut a little bit briefly, but here's how it basically works. And this is extremely important. This is a normal gut here on the left. And so what you have is you have the gut lining up here with the food particles going by, the digested food. And we have these very tight junctures that go between each of these cells here. And down here is your bloodstream. So this is only about the width of your eyelid. These junctions are supposed to be very tight. They're not supposed to go apart. The food is taken by, and the good bacteria are here working on all of that, keeping it normal. But unfortunately, with the advent of processed foods, with medication, much alcohol, stress, all of a sudden, or being exposed to a bacteria that may or may not belong, those guys are going to want to move in and set up housekeeping. That's why that H. pylori can get in there. It's like a little helicopter, and it will embed itself into the gut lining, like many of them do. They're trying to attach onto something because they want to live on you, basically. Parasite is anything that cannot make its own food, so it has to live on something else, such as a mushroom, for instance, or a bad bacteria. So what will happen, though, is these junctures start to slowly migrate apart, and now you actually have these things going directly into the bloodstream. And this could be feces, unfortunately. This could be gluten. This could be viruses, bad bacteria. Of course, in the small intestine, it's usually these guys. But if it happens in the large intestine, now you're actually pulling undigested or digested food in the form of feces into your bloodstream. And of course, the body's going to react to that. You're going to have an inflammatory response. And now other things can start happening, such as depositing toxins into your joints or into your skin or into your major organs. Parasites are very common too. H. pylori falls in that. A parasite, generally speaking, in this term, is something that really doesn't belong there. The normal bacteria are called commensal bacteria, so they are guys that we're 90% of, and 10% human. Those guys always are with us. And parasites are something that we are exposed to all the time. And those are things like viruses, funguses, and other bacteria that don't belong. We used to believe that if you moved to or went to overseas or out of the country that you would pick these guys up, which many people do. But because we're such a breadbasket and things are coming in from all over the world and people are here from all over the world, we tend to have a lot of this in our environment now. And they say it's in about 1 in 4 people. But if the more acidic, meaning that and we are supposed to be at the pH of 7.45 to 7.48. So we tend to run a little more alkaline than we do acidic, in the lower number, alkaline being the higher. So a lot of people want to know where they fall in that as far as the saliva goes or the urine. And so it's important to understand that if you are acidic, if you eat a lot of very simple carbohydrates, a lot of white sugar, a lot of white flour, even a lot of meat is acidic, over a period of time, this can start to build up in your system. And so bacteria feed on this and absolutely love it. That's what I was talking about with the sugar. They absolutely love that. They will make you crave it. So exposure to certain medications kill some of these bacteria, such as antibiotics and steroids. So it's important to know what's happening inside of you. So I'll briefly just mention the coronavirus. Of course, it's still in our midst, and it is something that has been with us for a while. But if you have a real strong immunity, and they know that especially vitamin D3, zinc, vitamin A, and just take a good multivitamin and you get your rest and you protect yourself, obviously, it's important because the immune system is really what gets hit from this particular virus, by all viruses and bacteria, but particularly this one likes to move in and start changing up the cells and replicating and so forth. So it's so important for the immunity to be strong with this particular virus. So this was something that one of the insurance companies had sent to me recently about what you can do to protect yourself. And of course, there's stuff all over the internet as well. But we are much healthier now, they say, because in daycares and some schools are reporting that their kids aren't getting sick as much. And I think that has a lot to do with just regularly hand washing. So that's extremely important. And you need to do it with hot water for at least 20 seconds or 30 seconds. It's important to keep all your surfaces clean, keep a healthy distance, as we know, and stay home as much as you can. And if you're going somewhere and they require or you feel comfortable wearing your cloth mask, you should do that. This company in particular does help people with setting up appointments and things, but it's in our midst, and the more we can do to keep ourselves healthy, we will keep other people healthy as well. So the next part of this is how to balance and strengthen your immunity for optimum health. This is the middle portion of this talk. So it's important to understand the immune system and how it works and what it's all about. A brief overview of this is that every minute of every day, we are exposed, as I've been talking about, to endless streams of disease, infections, viruses, and bacteria. I think there's over 1,000 viruses and who knows how many bacteria. I mean, hundreds of thousands of bacteria, but this is just part of humanity and part of being alive and a human being. All of these things could ultimately kill us, but we have this built-in immune system that keeps us all strong, hopefully. Many things can obviously upset this, but basically speaking, the immune system is a network of cells, organs, and tissues that work together to destroy foreign cells or particles, thus keeping you healthy and alive. And the major player in this is white blood cells. Now, one of the things we talk about is how important a skill is to your health. Health is a skill, and you have to look at it like anything else that you've learned in life, whether it's learning to work on a computer and do a certain program or play a piano or ride a bicycle. It's really a skill to be healthy. And so we need to understand what that is and before we can truly improve it, especially the immune system and what that immune response is. So what do we mean when we say immunology? Well, that's the study of the immune system. An immunologist is a doctor usually that studies that, or a scientist. The immune system is just the community of the cellular and molecular components responsible to keep your immune system strong. Immunity itself is the protection from infectious disease. The old historical definition was the physiological function of the immune system is defense against infectious microbes. However, even non-infectious foreign substances can elicit an immune response, such as if you have a leaky gut or you have a sensitivity to certain food, the body will read that, if you will, as a foreign substance that doesn't belong, and it will send out an immune response, such as a runny nose, or your face swells, or your intestines decide to swell, or you start running a fever even sometimes. So it's important to know what these immune responses are, which are collections and coordinated responses to foreign substances. So more specifically, immunology is a study of cellular and molecular immune mechanisms that allow us to distinguish between self and non-self. And then what happens is the body says, okay, that's non-self, let's eliminate it. And that's just how it's here. It's kind of black and white that way. So if we look at what is helping us, we've got lots of things to help us. We have what we call the protective barriers or the response organ to this immunity. We have our skin, of course, which is all over and protects us. Eyes, oral cavity, respiratory system, microbiome, the thymus, very specific for the immune system, the spleen, the lymph nodes, bone marrow, appendix is very helpful too. It is a reservoir for holding extra bacteria, the good guys, if you will. And then we have these Peyer's patch, which are groups of cells in the body as well. So we do have some wonderful things in place through our innate immunity that are helping us. So we'd mentioned this earlier, that these are some of the signs. When you have an unhealthy gut, there are symptoms: the weight changes, the fatigue, the skin issues, the inflammatory response. We are actually truly a healing machine, and we are designed that way. So, but there's a lot of things that we get under attack about. So the gut is constantly under attack, and think of it that way. So as much as you can do to help it, the better your immunity will be. So what can happen? Well, if you have what they call acute inflammation, an inflammatory response is a immune response, if you will, just like fever or anything else. The acute inflammation is where we have an allergic reaction, or we get burned, or something happens pretty quick. Even just a brief infection, such as a cold. Those are all things that create the inflammatory response, which the body has to heal us. However, if it goes on for a long period of time, such as what I've been discussing as far as the gut goes, then we can run into all kinds of problems. These are the things that have been studied, knowing that these are coming from the gut, some kind of a response that is being mediated from the gut itself. Alzheimer's is there, cancer is there, Parkinson's is there, MS, rheumatoid arthritis, cardiovascular disease, and all the autoimmunes themselves. So that's how important the immunity is. So how do we help ourselves? How do we boost this immune response? What do we need to do? So we've already looked at some of these factors, but poor food choices are key. That is, food is first, and that's probably one of the most important things, to make sure that you're getting the right elements, that you're absorbing the right element. That's another part of this. So if the gut is not working very well, you are not absorbing very well. Plus, drinking alcohol can affect the immune system. It wears it down. It can erode that gut lining to a point. Smoking, we know, is not good for you either. Much of stress, sitting around inactive, not getting all your sleep. And even if you scrimp on sleep over a period of time, it will catch up with you. We do have what they call a sleep debt, and it's important to know that. So be sure, if you miss some sleep one night, that you're picking it up somewhere else, because it will catch up with you and start creating havoc in your body. A lot of people carry negative emotions, and these affect our health as well, believe it or not. It can create stress on us. If you have that negativity going on in your mind all the time, over a period of time, it will erode your health. You can ignore personal hygiene, which is not a good idea. That's, as we were speaking about, it's so important to wash your hands and make sure you're taking care of yourself. Many of the toxic products on the market are not good either. They start to wear you down and break our health down. Hydration, very important. About 60 to 70% of the United States and maybe the world is dehydrated, and people don't even know that. And a lot of people don't take time for themselves. They're taking care of everybody else. And these are all the pieces that really going into being healthy as a skill. Not buying anything. This is things that you can do on your own to really help yourself and understand. Vaccination history and antibiotic use are another factor in affecting the immune system. Um, and this moves us into one of the largest chronic disease crises in this century, which they've coined a word now. They've taken diabetes and obesity and put them together. This is a disease process. It is a life-threatening disease process. If you're carrying extra weight around, it is not a healthy thing. This fat will erode your health as well, on the inside as well as the outside. So if you have this issue going on, and many people that are carrying a circumference around their waist, a woman over 30, at 35, if you measure your waist and your waist circumference is more than 35, or a man over 40, you may be moving into a diabetic situation, a pre-diabetic, which is also known as insulin resistance. What ends up happening in that situation is we're eating so much of the food that the body cannot handle. Can't produce enough insulin, so it continues to just pump it out, pump it out, pump it out, and then it starts to get exhausted, and that exhaustion is where diabetes comes in, because I believe many times that you're only given so much ability a certain organ can produce, whether it's so many heartbeats, whether it's so much insulin. If you burn that out in the first 30 or 40 years of your life, then you may later on have diabetes. Not everybody, of course, but it's becoming a real problem. 1 in 3 people. This has been on the rise for a long time. So one of the things I do talk about as well is that it's important to know that food is part of your whole being. And when you eat food and you take your time to eat, there is a vibration that comes from living food, such as fresh vegetables and fruits. And if something has been sitting on the shelf for a long time, it never expires. How does that have the same food content that something that is picked right off of a tree or is only a few hours old from the field? So the body seems to understand this, ironically. It's really important, too, to take your time to eat. Most people do not in this culture. They do overseas in Europe, and really should take, if you don't have a lot of time to eat, you really should just eat less food and take more time. It's just that vital. Because if your body knows that you're under stress and you're trying to eat, and the stomach and the digestive system kind of slows way down and doesn't want to digest that food. Food should really only be in your stomach for about 90 minutes at the tops, and more people are showing up with things like gastroparesis, where the food actually stays in there for long periods of time. It putrefies, then all these digestive issues start to happen. And so understand that, take your time to eat. Make sure you chew your food 20 to 30 times. So all these things will help you in your digestive journey. Many of the essential nutrients, we only make about we don't make about 50 of them. And so there are certain things that will enhance your immunity. And so the vitamins are important. Some people only eat certain foods and they don't get the soiree, if you will, of all the vitamins that we do need on a daily basis. So make sure that you're getting your essential nutrients, what you need to take on top of what you're eating every day. It's kind of preventative medicine, insurance, if you will, to make sure that you're going to be healthy and that immune system will be strong. There are immunity support supplements as well. So what you basically have is you have supplements for your daily living, we call habit of health, if you will. And then you have things that will also go along with that. And some of these cross each other, these immune supporting elements as well. And so, and then they have some even specifically for COVID that they have suggested that you should be using too. And many of these things are the same. They're multivitamins, there's zinc, there's vitamin A, vitamin D3, extremely important. Fiber is very important if you're not eating a lot of fibrous foods. The main thing is that you're moving your bowels every day, more than once a day, hopefully. If you're not, then you have to retrain yourself to sure, because people have lazy bowels for many reasons. But Christy Amano, Director of Center for Integrative Medicine, he put together a strategy and a guide that you can look up from the Institute for Functional Medicine, and this is also through the CDC, of these immune supporting supplements that can help you. So diet, very, very important for your immunity, and rest, very, very important for your immunity. Making sure that you have some fun in your life, extremely important, that you take time for yourself. Then the supplements are things you can do on top of that as an insurance guide, if you will, to make a healthy immune response. So this is here because they have done, there's about 3 studies out right now on what they call the endocannabinoid system. And if you haven't taken our advisory series and want to know more about that, that's where you'll find a deep dive in this particular system as well. But basically, it was a system that we all have. It was discovered in the early 90s. They weren't even aware of it back then. But they know that the homeostasis of the immune system, and there isn't one in the advisory series on homeostasis too, using CBD, which is what we're discussing here, that this cannabinoid or the CBD has a real strong element to kind of bind immune cells and CB2 receptors to the nervous system cells. This is so huge, not only in the brain where the CB1 receptors are, but throughout the whole body. So this is another enhancement, if you will. The CBD can be such an enhancement, if even microdosing it, using it as a preventative, that's what I do, for the immunity and for the immune response. So understand that the system loves it. It will take it up. You will not have any kind of side effects from it. It will make you a much healthier person. And it does have a lot of, in the gut itself, speaking of the microbiome, there are so many receptors there to pick this particular CBD up to help it heal it and to really probably help some of those nasty bacteria that might be hanging out. So thank you. We will see you. We are doing a virtual summit on demand. And I'm so excited. I hope you learned something here today and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Carol. That was awesome. I definitely feel healthier already. And for those of you that want to take the next step, on this page, you'll see a link below where you can actually access Carol's on-demand virtual summit. It's all about boosting your immunity. It's a deep dive on these three subject areas: that digest your health and dilemmas, how to balance and strengthen your immunity for optimum health, and then how to boost your immune response. And so that program is about 3.5 hours. And so this is really some of the highlights that you just saw. And if you really want to protect yourself for today and in the future and get yourself healthy and stay healthy, I certainly recommend that you check this out. There are a couple bonuses as well. It's normally, by the way, $997 plus bonuses. Right now, you can purchase the virtual summit on demand for $297. And in addition to the 3.5 hours, you also get the insider secrets most people never really heard of. And in fact, Carol will walk through some of the most important immunity boosting supplements in a great amount of detail during the presentation. Also recipes for success as far as eating right now and in the future. And those of you that join this immunity boosting virtual summit will have access to our vision board masterclass. That's $1,000 value. And so the link is right below on this page or right here as well. You can feel free to certainly jump on board right now, and you'll get immediate access to see basically 3.5 hours of Carol going into a deep dive on all the subjects she just covered, and then some. You will have on-demand access, which means you can access it from your mobile phone, from your iPad, your desktop, laptop, and it's something that is self-paced. So if you want to do it a half an hour and then pause it or stop it and come back later, you can do an hour a day, however you want to consume it. But I can tell you this, if you want to get healthy, stay healthy, and really boost your immunity, this is the program for you. Here's another link right there. If you're not sure if it's right for you, you can always schedule time on my calendar right there on that link below there, number 2. And so that's it. There's my email. There's our phone number. Certainly register right now. You can just right below this video, you'll see a link there where you can register now. So thank you, Carol. Thank you, everyone, for paying attention and being a part of this masterclass, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the virtual summit.
Thank you very much, Rick. Bye now.
Okay, bye. Thank you.